Hello, everyone, and welcome to the me Dan.
Hey, should we let Dan do this again? Should we let Dan do it?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast, where we focus on real Canadian rugby. I'm Stu Hardy, joined as always by Derek Brissett, and you may notice a very familiar name in this podcast, and it is our former co-host, Dan Murphy. Dan is back for this special episode because when Dan's around, it's always a special episode. So, Dan, how have you been, my friend?
Oh gosh, I mean, from the last time that I was on the show, I had another kid. I wigged out and moved out to the country. It's been a long time. I'm excited to be back on the show. You do the opening of the show so much more cleaner than I ever did. I'd always be like, okay, Derek, what should I say today? And like now, as a listener, listening, you actually have like a phrase you continuously say on cue. It brings a warmth to my heart, Stu.
Oh, yes, sir. I was standing on the shoulders of giants. That's what I was doing.
It's too bad you screwed it up when Dan came back, though.
Yeah. Oh, we'll leave that for the end
Were
of
you assuming
year,
I was going to edit that out? Because that's going to be like a cold open. It's going to be like an Office Brooklyn Nine-Nine style cold open. It's going to be you two arguing about how to do the intro.
Oh, fun stuff.
Yeah, it'll play before the theme song. It'll be great.
Yeah. Well, a lot has been going on. We are now at the end of the preseason. It is finally the actual regular season week in MLR. We'll be beginning with our first games of round one this coming weekend. We've had a bit of news for MLR, not for 2023, but for 2024. We'll get to that in a bit. We've also had a few announcements from the Toronto Arrows as well. So I think we should start with that. So the big news coming out from Toronto is that they have also just announced a last-minute signing, a new center, and I'm going to butcher this name, my apologies, Talatasi Tassi, a 28-year-old midfielder who joins us from Japanese side Tokyo Gas, where he has just been competing in the Top East League for the 22 and 23 season. He's come over on the Arrows website. He says, I'm really excited to finally be here in Toronto and officially becoming an Arrow. Head coach Pete Smith has brought in a lot of class players from different rugby backgrounds and hopefully will bring some silverware back to Toronto, especially the MLR Shield. I want to be part of the journey and give back a red hot crack. So New Zealand born, Australian raised, primarily as a league player, and then made the switch in 2018 for league. He's played for the Ipswich Jets, Canterbury Bankstown Bulldog, New South Wales, North Sydney Bears. He's even featured in the NRL with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. It's always a very strange name. And then when he did make the switch to Union, he's played for the Souths in Queensland Premier Rugby. He's played for Brisbane City in the National Rugby Championships, and he's spent 2 years in Super Rugby, first participating pre-season for the Melbourne Rebels, then making his debut for the New South Wales Waratahs, and then he made his switch to Japan for 2020 to be with the Sunwolves, and he actually featured alongside Corey Thomas as well, another Arrow signing. So yeah, he's also played for Gordon in the Alvin Guy, the Highlanders Sydney Rugby Premiership title in 2020, the club's first championship in 22 years. So I think there's a big connection with like the Giltinis team of 2021, because a lot of guys were featured for that Gordon season as well. But yeah, definitely a big name coming straight from Tokyo Gas, and he actually featured in the most latest preseason match for DC.
Right into the fire. Like, welcome to the team. All right, get out there, buddy. Like, just go.
Yeah, you're halfway through a season. That's the same as a preseason over here. In you go. But yeah,
when do you want him to start playing?
I don't know. Give him like
start. When do you want him to stop?
The season's next week. Yeah, like when do you want to get him? acclimated to the squad.
If you look at the Arrow signings, I mean, it's not like they're hard up for centers. I mean, unless there's been like injuries that we're not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah, like another talented Pacific Islander that, I mean, from the highlight that they showed, can run a mean line.
I was gonna say I love league guys playing center.
Yeah.
League guys at center are the best.
Yeah,
sometimes.
my hesitance about this is that it's Derek made this comment that we're off camera, that we don't know a lot about some of these signings because we're not familiar with the NRC and, you know, all of these Australian leagues that would be hard for a Canadian to keep track of.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard. I mean, we've got the coach with Pete Smith that would know that stuff, so I'm sure he knows a lot about what this guy is bringing to the table. It's just it's a wait and see kind of signing because who knows?
Yeah. I think in a way too, it's like, I think obviously there was a couple Arrows, like a lot of Arrow centers too departed last season. So obviously like Tafaga's not back. Spencer Jones is in New England now. And you kind of look at the centers right now, you got, you know, Nick Ben, Noel Reed, Mitch Richardson, and Altassi, right? So only Richardson is back from last year.
Yeah.
So you obviously got to do a little bit of figuring out who's going to play there, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the preseason game they just played, they had Goodall, who is normally a winger, I think, playing.
Well, yeah. So Goodall is listed on the Arrows website as a wing/center.
Center. Okay, perfect.
So basically a big fast guy. So
yeah. So yeah, you have Goodall there with Tassi. So you know, two big fast guys. Right. So there's probably a little bit of, you know, with a lot of turnover at that position, you got to figure out what you're going to do. And I don't know. I think it's exciting. I mean, like I just said, I do like league guys sometimes as centers. I mean, you know, it's worked out pretty well for a lot of other countries around the world. It's really important. I think it's really important in this league too, if you get a guy in that 13 jersey that can just run, like you said, Dan, just a nasty line or like, you know, run over some people in contact. It's going to be key. I think your other point too, though, because I mean, not exactly a ton of footage of this game, you know, but like kind of looking at the lineup is very fascinating. As well, right?
Yeah, that's one word to describe it.
Yeah, and it's like it's not, and it's one of those things where it's like it's so hard to actually read into what any of this means, right? Because I think I look at like James O'Neill's playing hooker in this game, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dan, since you are such an avid listener of the podcast now, you would know that James O'Neill has mentioned that he has played hooker before. That was episode 132. A few months back.
He's played it before and then playing, you know, again, it's a preseason game, so you're right.
Yeah.
So I've also played hooker before as well.
Yeah, James O'Neill's a lot better at you than
he's a lot better at me than a lot of things.
Playing rugby, driving a Zamboni, he's a lot better at most things.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make, so it's like James O'Neill's playing hooker, and it's like it's tough to read into. It's like, is that it's the preseason, let's try something? Or is there a reason that Jack McRogers, Gene Cementon, Roman Azaria are all also not on this list?
Yeah.
Is there an injury issue at hooker already? Or is this just, hey, preseason, like, let's go, right?
Is hooker the new scrum half? Is that
that's the other thing too, right? Is you also have that's the other thing too, right? Is you also had Cole Brown starting at 9, but Ross Brody and Will Grant weren't in the lineup either. So you had one scrum half, right? And this is a squad list too that has 26 players, and there's still only 26 players, so 3 extra guys on the bench, and there's still only 3 backs. Right. So it's, and now I'm not like saying this to suggest that there is some sort of issue, but it's, I don't know, it's fascinating to look at the lineup. And it just, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, just to be perfectly clear, I'm not saying that any of these guys are like hurt or anything, because I have no idea. But the lineup does, like you said, it's like we don't normally get like the first Arrows injury report until the first game. But this lineup is like, is there something to be a little nervous about, or is this just preseason? try. I'm hoping it's just preseason. Let's try some guys at different positions, or maybe because we didn't get the lineup for the New York game, maybe all those guys that we're saying played in the previous game too, and fine, or maybe you just got to rest up and stuff. Like you said, you don't get that injury report, but it is kind of an interesting lineup. I hope it means nothing other than we're going to try some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, you look at the DC lineup and when their game against New York, I think the only continuation was Danny Tusitala at scrum half for both games. But then you look at both the teams basically they just changed. I'm pretty sure everyone at halftime, and you have Cali Martinez starting in the first half, and then you have an entirely new front row in the second half, and we have Graydon Bowd and Doug Fraser. And it seems from the result is that it was the second half where things really turned around for DC, because the Arrows in DC were tied at 7-7 at halftime, and then the final score we have is 14-42 to DC. Yeah. So obviously DC were able to score more tries. Maybe the Arrows were keeping guys on a bit longer and then doing a wholesale change towards the 60-minute mark, when there's the rough time when you would have it during regular season games. So as you mentioned, there's some big names missing, some obvious starters not there, including basically all the scrum halves, all the hookers. Sam Malcolm wasn't there either. So it's very, like I said, it's preseason. It's very hard to determine anything from this at this point in time. We've seen, Seattle have won both their games without conceding a single try. But both of those teams are not MLR teams.
Yeah.
Seattle.
To be honest, I would hope they beat Seattle Rugby without conceding a try.
Yeah, I'd hope that too. But
that's a problem.
But even the American Raptors as well, they didn't concede a try in that. But they say, "Oh, this is the full-time result."
Yeah.
But is it the same? Was it 2 halves of 40 minutes? Was it 4 quarters of 20 minutes? Well, information is basically a drip.
Yeah. Well,
at this point,
that's the MLR preseason right now. And I mentioned a couple episodes back that it's I think this is an area that the league can really improve on, just by stream the games, or have teams have all the teams put out lineups, because it is kind of odd. I know I've heard the argument that the coaches like to keep some sort of competitive advantage, which is I'm sure the coaches in the NFL, NHL, MLB, and NBA would also like that, but that's not how professional sports work.
No.
But it does kind of make it without being able to necessarily watch it and stuff. And even going back to last week when Mike Shepard was kind of basically said that they don't mind getting scored on in the preseason because it allows you to see your flaws.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot.
I was just going to say, first of all, fantastic interview, guys. If Mike ever decides to go into media and join Jane McKenzie up in the booth, I think he's got a path that way. Yeah. But I think he made a great point, when he was chatting with you guys, that the score really doesn't matter to the players.
Yeah, score doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. You'd almost want to get tore up.
Yeah.
Just so you can fix those mistakes. And one thing I wanted to kind of talk about too is, especially with the lineup, is we had no idea what type of lineup they trotted out against New York.
Yeah.
No,
right. They could have had all 3 hookers playing, and then they said, okay, we've seen enough. Let's try something new. Okay, James, get out there. We're gonna see what you got. There's so much turnover in key positions with this team, and just kind of change up that. It's gonna be really interesting to see how the start of the year goes.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that they're not gonna have the injuries that they had last year to start the year off. So that we know of.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
it's going to be interesting.
Like you said, it's like, I think that's the thing. It's like, I think though that ultimately is like, that's why it would be super fun to get more of that info out of MLR for the and the MLR teams for the preseasons. Like, especially it's like, there's a team like New York who you're the defending champs. You should which basically makes you the face of the league, and you're not putting out lineups. You have no score up, barely doing score updates. If you're doing it, it's from the other teams. I think that could be. I think that's somewhere the MLR can kind of go a long way to do. Just because, I mean, even like, look what we just spent the last few minutes doing. We were like staring at the Arrows lineup, and we're just like mindlessly speculating what that could possibly mean.
Maybe they're just like, hey, let's mess with Rouge Rugby.
Yeah, exactly. That's
let's
the whole
mess with
thing.
the boys a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anything else from that game, boys? Or
no, as we've said, it's a bit too early to make a call on anything that's happening like across the entirety of the preseason. I mean, Seattle nilled the American Raptors, and then they turn around and beat Atlanta and the Chicago Hounds.
Well, these scores mean nothing.
Yeah, you can't pin it down to anything, but it's there for the coaches to get an idea of what they want to see and some combinations before the season starts. So, we'll find out this weekend when the first round of MLR 2023 kicks off. Now, the Arrows have announced that they have some continued partnerships as well as a new partnership for this season. So they are continuing their partnership with Foundation Physiotherapy as well as Tradish. So if you were able to go to any home games last season, Tradish were the company where you would book online what meals you'd like to get for halftime, and then you can collect them. And I thought that was a really good system, but they may have a bit of a challenge because the Arrows have announced a new partnership with Pizza Hut Canada. So they announced this, put out a press release saying that from Rahul Srinivasan, the Arrows chief commercial officer, says, with our keen focus on growing rugby in North America, we prioritize expanding our network of corporate partners each season. Thrilled to begin a new relationship with Pizza Hut in 2023. Fans can expect some new and exciting in-stadium experiences presented by Pizza Hut when they're cheering on the Arrows at York Lions Stadium this coming season. So one new experience it says fans can expect will be the Pizza Hut bonus point. At each Arrows home game in 2023, a select number of fans in attendance will be eligible to win Pizza Hut prizes unlocked when the Arrows score 4 or more tries. The Arrows will release more information on the promotion as the home portion of the season approaches. I've seen, McDonald's do offers with the Raptors where it's like if you score more than like 100. If the Raptors score more than 100 points, then fans can get like free medium fries or something like that. So if the Arrows score like 4 tries at home, does that mean that everyone gets stuffed crust pizza? Because I wouldn't complain about that. I think that's a great idea. And it's new partnership. More corporate brands coming in, which is obviously good for the professionalism of not only the team but also the league as well. So it seems though that this is a partnership specifically with Franchise Management Incorporated, or FMI, who are one of the largest restaurant franchise owners and operators in North America. So they work with Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell, Burger King, and Panera Bread across 20 Canadian provinces and US states, founded in Woodstock, New Brunswick. And so Vanessa Black, who's a marketing specialist for Pizza Hut Canada, says, FMI is proud to sponsor the Toronto Arrows for the 2023 season. As a company, we encourage our employees to strive for excellence on a daily basis through heart, integrity, and drive, something that we believe the Toronto Arrows as a whole embodies. We wish the Arrows a successful season and look forward to seeing the sponsorship continuing in the years to come. Well, I guess we'll have to wait until April 8th to see what these activations will be at York Lions Stadium. But if that is just another reason for you guys to go out there, get tickets, get group tickets for all your friends, some of your enemies, bring everyone along, and you can get tickets. They're still on sale, single game tickets at torontoarrows.com. And now, you may have noticed with the new kit for 2023, the Arrows have a new front sponsor, and it is the Toronto Inner City Rugby Foundation. This marks the first professional rugby club to have a not-for-profit organization displayed on the front of their team's jerseys. TRF's name and logo will be displayed prominently on the front of the Arrows team jersey throughout the entire season. TIRF, or TURF, is Toronto's largest rugby-centered community development organization that uses rugby as a tool for social good. It works to reduce the financial, geographical, and cultural barriers that prevent children and youth from participating in rugby and sport generally. We have a few quotes from Bill Webb. He says, "It's an honor for the Arrows organization to partner with TURF this season and have TURF's logo front and center on our jerseys. We are consistently inspired by TURF's tireless work in our community and are proud to support their initiatives to empower youth through rugby and sport." In addition to the jersey branding, the Arrows will have extensive activations with TURF throughout the 2023 season. These activations are highlighted by an innovative ticketing program that allows Arrows supporters, season ticket holders, and corporate partners to donate tickets to youth from low-income communities and families. Arrows players and coaches will also be attending TURF events and supporting TURF's program throughout the year. And the executive director of TURF, Amanda Neal Robinson, has said it is invaluable for TURF to be partnered with a professional sport organization like the Arrows that understands the impact of investing in young people and local talent. Everyone connected to TURF is extremely grateful and excited for the opportunities the Arrows have afforded us this MLR season to showcase the meaningful work we've done together to help transform the lives of young people. So, a bit of history being made by being the first pro rugby club to have a not-for-profit organization on the front of their jerseys. And first of all, the logo just looks good on the jersey. It's either on the white jersey or the white band on the home jersey. TURF itself is a great not-for-profit organization. I've donated to them in the past and will continue to donate them in the future. But this is a big step. This is a big thing to have, especially when we've just been mentioning like new corporate partnerships like Pizza Hut Canada, Tradish, Foundation Physiotherapy. To go for a not-for-profit, I think speaks a lot about this club, a lot about the message and morals of the club as well. And, and I do like the idea of donating tickets to young fans so they can come along and experience the game. That is the best part.
That's easily the best part of this. Yeah. Man, that'd be so cool. Could you imagine being a kid? You get free rugby tickets and free pizza. The Arrows better score 4 tries a game. Absolutely. That's just what's gonna happen. Like
we'll invade the pitch and just grab the opposition just so the kids can get.
Yeah, exactly.
Then our tickets will be then given because we'll be banned for life. So
yeah, exactly.
We're doing a lot of charity. It's charity work. It's all charity work.
Yeah, no, obviously it's great. I mean, the Arrows, obviously we saw TURF on the jersey when the kit was unveiled. But it's cool to see, this week, the Arrows kind of expanding on what that partnership exactly means. So obviously, there's a whole lot of the, I think they did a great job with like the videos and stuff explaining what the partnership's going to do. And I mean, anything to get some more kids involved in rugby is obviously, probably the biggest thing that this country needs right now. So anything that can get that done is awesome in my book. So looking forward to this, hopefully, and another fun thing too is that kids usually add a lot to like atmosphere because they're generally pretty loud stuff at sporting events. So they're always a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I took my daughter to there was a PWHPA match in Peterborough, and it was like a 12 o'clock puck drop, and there were 26 buses, and it was the loudest sporting event I've ever been to in my entire life. So
all the when you say school day hockey games are
wild, like just wrong, like just a ruckus.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great initiative by the Arrows. Like, I don't see how this is a loss for the Arrows. I saw people thinking that like this looked like it was like a financial weakness for them, and to me this looks like it's a strength for them to be able to say we could put a sponsor of.
Yeah.
Last year they had Cool Bets.
Yeah.
We could put a sponsor there and make a little bit of money, but instead we're going to do something good. And other sponsors that have thought about maybe putting money toward the Arrows, they're going to see that they're supporting this nonprofit and go, oh, maybe I'll put a little more money there. Or someone that's from NOLA that's watching a game and they're going, oh, what is turf? What is that? And they go research and go, oh, I'll drop $20 for that. Like the avalanche effect of having this on a jersey is going to do wonders for the foundation. So I'm excited to see where this leads to.
Yeah, well, I mean, from that's the whole point of putting your logo on a jersey, right? Is that, like, I mean, there's a handful of companies around MLR that I'm like, I would not know that you exist if you weren't on a MLR jersey, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
Like I Alloy, which I think is New England's sponsor.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know.
I saw it randomly.
I know Aviva's
driving around on an ad.
Aviva's apparently a huge company too, but I don't know what they do. Which probably just makes me sound like an idiot by saying that, but all good. Kings and Convicts. That's a sponsor name though. Yeah. That's
you've said worse, Derek. That makes you look more like an idiot. This is
thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, I learned from our former co-host and creator. I mean, at least I didn't throw Deceptitois on the wing. I don't remember which one I did that, but that kind of led to a bunch. That led to our first guest coming on the podcast, though.
So swings and roundabouts. It's all right. Right. Yeah. Okay, we're going to take.
Sure I said Spencer Jones on the wing. I think that's what I said.
No, it was Detroit because then Cole.
I said Detroit
faster than Detroit. Oh,
he said Detroit.
No, sorry, Detroit on the ring. Yeah.
Miami.
Yes. Let's step back from one MLR team and to look at MLR as a whole. It was announced this week that coming in 2024 will be the Miami Sharks. So, first of all, I think it's going to be in team in the Eastern Conference, but don't quote me on that just yet. But
I do have a
doesn't mean anything. Technically, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You can make. We can make this.
They could go Jurassic and make it like NFC, AFC, where teams are everywhere.
Yeah,
that would mean nothing.
Yeah, who knows? So this Miami group is led by Ronaldo Strazzolini, or Coney as he's known, Alejandro McFarlane, and Marcos Galperin. More details are to be released, but what MLR have announced so far is that they will be playing in Miami or the greater Miami area. From Marcos Galperin, he said, "We are excited to create a rugby experience in South Florida that will wake the Latin passion in the community and generate a sense of belonging." And so it's very little information on the team so far. There's been promotion through the MLR channels on social media that the Sharks will be joining in 2024. But, a team in Florida, one of the most popular states, Miami, great destination, especially at the start of the season when the North is still frozen. And, if you are going to have a few home games, then having it in,
Miami.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have any thoughts on this? I got some thoughts on this that are most.
Yeah, I got a few thoughts. One, as someone who has family down in Florida, start of the season is rainy season down there, I believe. So that is might counterbalance about what you just said there, but I could be wrong. Two, I'm really excited to see what again the Latin flair that they're going to pull up from this. That is the right community for it. The Sharks branding. I mean, I'm not upset as the South African Sharks owner is about the name.
Yeah,
I'm not at that level. I think
them and the other 78,000 teams across.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got to say the Sale Sharks are absolutely furious about it.
I don't know. There's. I think Sharks is a little lazy because we're near the ocean.
See,
Sharks.
Are we just going to ignore the fact that it's the team name from Any Given Sunday?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen.
You've never seen Any Given Sunday? I'm quitting this podcast. How have you not seen Any Given Sunday? Stu, did you say you've seen Any Given Sunday?
Dude,
no.
You know what I watch the majority of the time? I'm watching either Mickey Mouse.
Dude, this movie came out in like 2000 or something. I might be 1999.
Frozen. I watch Frozen 2. If I'm lucky, I can watch Encanto. This is my life now, Derek.
How old are your kids?
My daughter is 4 and my son is 1.
So this movie came out in 1999, which gave you 17 years to watch it.
Yeah.
What? Oh man! All right. So either way, Dan, Any Given Sunday is a football movie that is fantastic. That stars Al Pacino as the coach, Jamie Foxx as the quarterback, and Cameron Diaz as the owner. The name of the football team is the Miami Sharks. They're also black and white. That's what
I'll take your word for it.
It's you haven't heard, like, you should need to go Google like Al Pacino Any Given Sunday speech, because it's the best like sports locker room speech of all.
Well, actually, something interesting to point out is that the Miami Sharks were part of the American Soccer League in 1988 and then renamed to the Miami Freedom in 1990. So there was an actual Miami Sharks team.
What a weird name.
So there were going to be 3
I guarantee
teams
you
called the
more
Miami
people,
Sharks, one of which was fictional.
I guarantee you more people know about the Any Given Sunday Miami.
Yeah, no, I'm not ruling against that. So
can we get the cast of Any Given Sunday to go to one of these games? That'd be fun.
I'm sure they'll be thrilled to come to an MLR game. But
never know. Why
the question is that where could they be based? So obviously, I'm gonna automatically rule out Hard Rock Stadium but they're into Miami. Currently have a stadium in, admittedly, Fort Lauderdale, which is about a 40-minute drive north of Miami, at the Drive Pink Stadium. But the proposed Freedom Park, Miami Freedom Park, which will be a 25,000-seat soccer stadium, which will be built in Miami, roughly around.
Are they bringing the Miami Freedom back? Is that what? Is that why it's called Freedom Park? Is the team coming back? Is that what?
Not a clue. I think Freedom Park is just a name until they get a sponsor as in, like, instead of like Miami Stadium, narrow it down. So it's being built in Miami. It's
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. It's near. I think it's near. Where is it? It used to be Melry's Country Club, so it's an area that already has, currently has grass. It's been used as like PGA tours and things like that. This time last year, roughly, Miami City Council granted Inter Miami a 99-year lease on the Melry's site. And the stadium is projected to open in 2025. So whilst it may not be there for the Sharks' inaugural season, they may be able to work out a deal. Have David Beckham come along to a 2024 game, and then they can work out stadium sharing opportunities for later down the line. So, but obviously getting a new team in 2024 shows that the league is moving in the right direction. Maybe we'll get another team to join the Western Conference, so we can even it out at 14 each. And who knows, as the rumor mill circulates and new things get chucked around, we may be able to find out if we can get a 16 team sooner rather than later. But for now, all we can say, Miami definitely will be having a team in 2024.
Yeah, and I think it's also great that the league is announcing this now, because obviously you announce it now. They had some preseason games in Florida like the week after they announced this. There was a couple preseason games this past weekend that were in Florida. Right. So I don't know, hopefully trying to build a bit of a fan base down there. But also it's like you have unlike, the Chicago Hounds or the Toronto Arrows or, a handful of other expansion teams that just kind of like, that had a bit of a short runway into their first year. It's nice to see the Sharks kind of getting this chance here to like, you can start working on your brand, slowly build up over the course of the year. Like, maybe sign a player or two, or drop like what officially what the logo is going to be like. I don't know if that thing that image that they've kind of has shown, if that's going to be the official logo or if that's like a placeholder, but like you can do a whole bunch of marketing things in the build up that plus, I mean, everybody can kind of maybe prepare for the idea that they might be asked to move to. There's obviously some issues that the players had with the dispersal draft for Chicago and all the Gill teams. So hopefully the full year run up gives everybody time to have a better understanding of what's going to happen this offseason too.
Right. There's a reason why Dan is here joining us for this episode, besides providing us with great joy at seeing his face once again on the podcast. So Dan, what have you been up to? What have you been working on? And what would you like to be talking about?
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say that being a Rugby Canada fan the past, 2 years has not been easygoing, So what I have done is I have compiled a starting lineup of players that I believe in the next few years will be making a case to be the next guy. Call this like the next stars lineup. So there are a few rules for eligibility that I made. The players have to be 25 and under and have 10 or fewer caps.
Okay.
So there'll be some players that are uncapped, some players that have sevens caps, and some guys that are kind of close to I've got a couple guys that are like close to the limit. So I'm going to be posting this, and you guys can kind of talk about that. But I wanted to come on and kind of explain some of my choices. So starting with loosehead, and I think it's good that I'm starting off with my bias right off the bat, because I've been hit by this guy in tackling practice, and my God, it hurt. So I chose Emerson Pryor as my loosehead. And he's had his last year was pretty quick, crazy. He was drafted by the Warriors, played 11 games for them, starting in 9 of them. And then once that was over, he went over to New Zealand to play, and then was rewarded by traveling with Rugby Canada to the America's Rugby Trophy and played a few, I think one of the games, or if not more, with Canada. What does that kind of say about this guy? He's a strong scrummager. He's athletic. I think that he's got a lot of, possibilities and potential. And to be honest with you, the loose set has been a position where Canada has always been, we've had Sears Duru, and then now Cole Keith has made the switch in the last few years at loosehead. And we've got a couple guys with the arrows. We've got, I believe Grindle is Canada eligible.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he is.
Yeah.
So, and he actually would be eligible for this list. He makes that cut.
Oh, wow. You're already second guessing your pick, man. We're on the
No, I'm not second guessing anything. I'm just saying, again, people can argue with this all they want. Okay, so at hooker, this is an obvious decision. Jack McRogers, he's like a cheat code for this team. He has all of his MLR experience. He was the leading try scorer for the Arrows next year. He is going to have all the opportunities to put his hand up for a national team selection to add on to his one cap that he got. I'm excited to see what Jack does this year. He's going to be having a lot of starts for the Arrows this year. So let's see how that goes.
All right.
Again, number 3 with the tight head was easy, and he is like at the max of both of my qualifiers. But Tyler Rowland, he's got 9 caps. He's the highest cap player. I would probably give him the C, the captaincy for the team. Just a few stats. He has 409 carry meters on 80 carries, 120 tackles. That's an 87.6 completion. 285 ruck arrivals, 6 tackle breaks, 1 breakdown steal, and 1 try over his first 3 seasons with the club. I'm excited to see what's the next step. What is he going to bring? Because Salmon is an incredible player. Like, he's one of my favorite arrows. So what does Roland need to improve to take some of those starting games away from Salmon? So I'm excited to see what that looks like. My next guy, one of my locks. Now, this guy comes with a little bit of controversy and not of his own playing. Tyler Duguid. He is one of Canada's highly touted prospects.
He's good.
He is playing in the top 14. He's already played in the Heineken Cup.
Yeah.
He's got all the tools to be a national level player. And, we can only speculate. We don't know what is going on, why he's not putting his hand up for selection, but he's got the size. Like, he's got the size to play. If you are starting in top 14 matches, like, the top 14 is one of the most physically demanding leagues in the world.
Yeah.
And this guy is going toe to toe with monsters, like absolute monsters, and not sticking out like a sore thumb. So, of course, I'm going to add him to my team. My other lock, this young man got his first cap in that hard fought match against Namibia. Piers von Dadelsen is an interesting. I call him in the article a dark horse, and I think that's really kind of where he's at. He came into the Canada roster, not a lot of fans knowing who he was. He's playing for Oxford in the UK. He's not as big as a guy like Duguid. Like, he needs to fill out his frame a little bit, but finish his school. If he really wanted to, he can apply his trade in Europe, or he can come to MLR. I'm sure teams will be very much looking for a guy his height to fill out their line out. So I'm excited to see what he does. My 6 and my 8, you can, and when we get to the 8, you guys will understand. You can put them in either position. I think that, like, both of these guys can and have played at both positions. So whichever one you go with, I'm okay with. But I've got 6. I've got Logan Widener, who is a very, very interesting prospect for Rugby Canada. He's eligible to play for both the US and Canada. And during this past summer, he traveled with both under 20 teams. It's like very LeBron James before he joined the Miami Heat kind of situation. Like, all these teams, like, both like programs are trying to get him to play. And I mean, I don't blame them. He's 250 pounds. He's 6'5". He's got the frame to play. Like, he is a big lad. He's with he's on an academy deal in 2020, or he signed an academy deal with Brive in 2020. Now, in going into this season, his academy deal will end. So the world is his oyster. He could play for a top 14 or a Pro D2 team. MLR teams would drool. He would be an instant star in MLR if he decided to go that route. So he is a key cog in my lineup, because he does a lot of really strong things that to have successful national team. He's a threat in the line out. He is aggressive in the open field with his running, and he's damn good in the breakdown. So what more can you want from a 6? Now my 7 we actually talked about already today. James O'Neill. He is an incredible player.
He's a hooker now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I'll try to remember that for when we post this. But he was named Club Man of the Year by the Arrows in his first season. The award was given to coaches by the coaches for his hard work on and off the pitch. 394 carrying meters on 61 carries, 185 ruck arrivals, 79 tackles for an 84% completion, 8 tackle breaks, 7 breakdown seals, 2 line breaks, and a try in his first campaign.
Yeah. No.
Again,
James O'Neill's crazy.
Like I said earlier, there is a logjam at 7, right? Like, Rumble, Heaton, Smith. They all play very similar style to
Kai
him.
Penny too.
Nakai Penny.
Yeah, there's
Jeez.
Seven's probably Canada's best position. Weird.
Strongest.
Yeah.
And O'Neill did something that I think was really smart. You know, going over and playing Melrose Rugby.
Yeah.
To go over and play in Scotland, play in those matches, I think was his smartest decision. I'm excited to see what he could do going into 2023 for the Arrows.
Yeah, and then
all right, okay. So you've been talking about the forwards, a lot of great picks.
Gonna let him do his last forward.
I thought he did. Six.
I got my 8-man.
When you're talking about 6 and 8, I thought you were like.
Yeah, no, sorry, Stu.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Sorry, we've already
throwing the numbers around and the spelling disaster
for me. It's okay. He's just going to be the third guest in a row that's about to talk about Mason Flesh and how great he is. We should just have Mason Flesh on the Cup podcast.
Don't bury the lead, damn it. My 8-man's Mason Flesh. And I know with the Arrows, he hasn't played 8-man, but when I watch him play, he reminds me so much of Tyler Ardron. Like his line-out ability, his ball carrying, his offloading ability, his ruck arrivals. Like he does all those things that I want to see in a 8-man.
Yeah.
Now, depending on what you want in 8-man, are you more of a Sam Simmons? Are you more of an Alex Dombrant? It can go whichever way. I prefer to have someone that can also be a line-out threat at my 8-man. It just adds another layer to what you're doing at your set piece. And he's just an incredible player. I go listen to all the other Arrows like Corey Thomas and Mike Shepard on the podcast.
Very excited
spew about him.
All right, so we'll try to go through the backs a little bit quicker. So who do you got in as your scrum half?
Half 9 is easy. It's Will Persilier, another top 14 player.
Yeah.
He's gotten a couple caps, but since then, not much. I want to see him more in my lineup.
So do we.
10. Yes, so do we. 10 is a really tough conversation because fly half is traditionally a position that Canada is weak at. Now, I picked Will Kelly. He is on the cusp in terms of age, and he only has 1 cap. He's not with the Arrows anymore. He's over in England plying his trade. He's kind of in Rugby Canada wilderness right now. America's Rugby News currently has Gabe Casey as part of the Arrows roster. He's another name that would be really interesting to see if they gave him more chances because he is eligible in terms of age. Winger is someone that I was so excited to see get signed by the Arrows. Avery Oideman, the Oideman Empire. Come on, guys. He is a fantastic player. And what I really like is he looks like he's beefed up, which is great
older,
news.
Right? So that comes with
He's older. He's stronger.
Yeah.
Love it.
Who's your other winger?
Oh, my other. Oh, yeah, okay. We'll do it that way.
The wings. Yeah. Who's the other winger?
14 could also be my fly half, Brock Webster, extremely talented player.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of the people that believe that he needs to be getting opportunities at the fly half position, but he ain't too shabby on the wing either.
How does the fact that he plays 7s way more impact your decision to include him in this lineup?
It is a consideration for sure. There's guys like Isaac Olsen down in New England that could also be put onto this roster. But at the end of the day, I went with someone that I know has national team experience and also has the eye of currently Kingsley Jones. So that's where I went with why I picked Webster. 12 and 13, both these guys are versatile in terms of which spot you put them in. But I've got Quinn Nawadi and Josh Thiel. Both of them have strong ball carrying ability. Both of them have distribution skills that are impressive for someone their age. Nawadi is still only 23 years old.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a lot of time. And I didn't want to include him for a period of time because I'm like, well, he's only playing, bench minutes with New York. He's only 23. Also, the centers that New York have are like probably the best in my opinion, in MLR, just based on how they played last year. So I'm okay being patient with Quinn because I think he's got a lot of things going well for him. And watching Josh Steele play with Lesage, I'm like, okay, this guy's got something there.
Yeah.
You know, Spencer Jones, unfortunately, just been hurt a lot. Now, I don't think he's eligible based on age. So I think Thiel turns that for me. Last guy at 15, I've got Kieran Breen.
Right.
There are a lot of question marks for him with the 15 jersey, mostly because the majority of his time has been at the center position or with the sevens program. But he's got that pedigree you're looking for in a young player. National Sevens program, academy deal with Biarritz, Pro D2 experience. And the Arrows see it. Like, you know, they depending on how they're going to use Malcolm and O'Leary, like he might not get as much starting time. You know, we know that Sam Malcolm can play in the 15 jersey.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, but I'm excited to see him. He's big, he's fast. I like what I see.
Yeah. So just to recap, then you basically have Emerson Pryor, Jack McRogers, Tyler Rowland, Tyler Duguid, Piers Von Dadelson, Logan Widener, James O'Neill, Mason Flesh, Will Percillier, Will Kelly, Avery Oideman, Quinn Nawadi, Josh Thiel, Brock Webster, Kieran Breen. And if you want to complain about that, Stu, we have a new place that we can redirect people if they wish to complain about this.
Yes, we do. Starting this week, we now have our official website, the Rouge Rugby.ca. So there we will be posting not only episodes of the podcast, which will be available again on YouTube and through Spotify, but we will also be posting articles both about the Arrows and about Canadian rugby in general. So this will be one of our first articles up there where Dan has given far more in-depth, far more details as well, especially his hit from Emerson Pryor. He can tell you which ribs are still bruised to this day. And yeah, so if you have any comments, any players that you would choose in different positions, anyone that you think has flown under Dan's radar, please feel free to comment on that article. Let us know. Again, that address is therougerugby.ca.
I actually don't think I've built a comment section into it yet. So you might still have to complain to Dan on Twitter or something.
Or find him in person.
Yeah,
shout at him.
Find me in person.
Find him in person.
Come all the way out to Buckhorn. Find me.
Yeah,
exactly. Come find me.
Come find Dan at his undescribed location in the middle of rural Canada.
We'll do that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm super excited about the website and you know, the Arrows blog that's going to be up on there, and the just Canadian rugby blog in general that'll be up there, as well as all the podcast episodes. But at the same time, it's still going to be a little bit of a work in progress as the MLR season kicks off too. So if you're reading Dan's article and you have any tips or suggestions for what we can do for the website, feel free to let us know as well.
Yeah, new season, new website, new logo. We've got it all coming at you. All right, so as we've mentioned plenty of times already, we are at the start of the 2023 MLR season, and we are going to have some pre-season predictions that we want to have between the three of us. So we're just going to go through these one by one. I'm not going to ask you who you think is going to be MLR champion at the end of 2023, but I will ask you first of all, who is going to be making the champion series, first of all, from the East. So, Dan, I'll start with you. Who do you think is going to be, it doesn't have to be any particular order, but who do you think is going to be making the Eastern Eliminator and the Eastern Conference Final?
Okay. Well, I definitely think that you're going to see New York and New England back in the fray.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of reloaded their talent. I think they're both going to be extremely competitive. They're both doubling down on what made them successful last year, and they're going to hit the East hard with it. The third spot really gave me some trouble because I think that there's a lot of teams in the East, and I would wrap Atlanta in Toronto into this they're in this influx of what's our next step? What is our new acquisitions going to do for us? I think NOLA is going to make the step into the playoffs for the first time. I think that they've added some dangerous pieces in the back line. And as long as they can stay relatively healthy, I mean, like Dougie Fife, JP Duplessis, Jordan Trainer is a big one as well. Like he really impressed me for LA. So I've got NOLA as my last.
Rodney Iona too at fly half.
Rodney Iona,
from the Brumbies.
They've kind of struggled with the fly half position. So that'll be a big one for me. So yeah, I'm excited for NOLA.
Yeah, and they also haven't like lost that many guys either. So it's a big little upgrade for NOLA.
All right then, Derek, who are you gonna pick for the Eastern Championship Series?
Oh man. To be perfectly honest with you, I completely agree with Dan's 1 and 2. I'm gonna flip them though, and I'm gonna say New England finishes first in the East and New York finishes second. And the reason I'm gonna say that is because we have to give a shout out to the team that has the other team in the league that has more Canadians than any other nationality on their damn team. So obviously New England's had a huge off season, right? Where plenty of Canadians. They got a Quatrin, Keys joined the team. They got Connor Young's on this team now, joining the already loaded with Canadian team that the New England Free Jacks previously were. Right. So, like joining. Oh, sorry, I forgot Spencer Jones. Right. So they have Spencer Jones, Cole Keith, Connor Keys, Ben Lesage, and Andrew Quatrin joining what was already there in Foster Dewitt, Ethan Fryer, Josh Larson, Regan O'Gorman, right? So there's 11 Canadians on that team, which is unreal. They were one of the best teams in the league last year. They were probably the best defensively as well. They had a ton of guys that were high up in the tackle count. It'll be I think one of the questions they're going to have to answer is how the new fly half fills the shoes of Bowden Waka. But I think they probably got that sorted and handled anyways. So I'm going to go with New England. New York, New York's got some similar things though. I think obviously they're defending champs. They've lost a couple guys, but have gained a few guys back too. And I don't really see them falling off too much. Third, man, I gotta say I like Dan's pick of NOLA. I think NOLA's off season has been great, but NOLA is my pick to make the playoffs if I'm using my head, but I never do that on this show, so I'm going to use my heart and say the Toronto Arrows.
All right, that's fair. So my pick, and I'm not saying like who's coming into like the conference final or who's in the eliminate. I'm just saying any order. So I'm gonna.
That's no fun. Pick an order.
No, shut up. So first of all, I'm gonna pick Toronto.
What? I know Toronto's won. No, you have to commit to an order. So Toronto's won.
There we go.
Okay,
Toronto. All right. In that case, Toronto goes 18-0, straight into the conference final. But yeah, I think I'm just backing Toronto on this one. And I don't know about you guys. You can remove your caps now, for crying out loud. There, I am gonna go with NOLA Gold. I think.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, NOLA will be hosting their first elimination postseason game.
So NOLA's 2.
The NOLA's 2. And then I'm currently in a coin flip between these two teams. And one part of me wants to be really outlandish, and the other part of me wants to be recognizing the consistency of their history. So I'm going to be outlandish, and I'm going to say DC.
What?
Eliminator game.
All right. Fair enough.
I say
that is a decision.
Yeah.
What? So, DC. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. My justification for this is that whilst a number of the New York guys have stayed on. There have also been a considerable number of like big name departures as
That's
well.
true.
And retirements. New England, I don't know if you guys remember when they came to Toronto and got smashed by the Arrows, but that was the one game, especially of the second half of the season, where Bowden Walker didn't start.
Yeah, and
play at all.
Game winning
And
streak.
yeah, and that lack of kicking option really exposed New England's defensive tactics, and I think that's something that if they do not address quickly, it's going to be like that, like the hole at the bottom of the bucket where like the water's just pouring out, and they're going to be conceding tries left, right, and center, because we all know the importance of the kicking game.
They've signed like 2 New Zealand-born fly halves.
Yeah, but are they Bowden Walker though? That's the thing.
No, and I think they
might be better. That's the
I was going to say, yeah, they could be better. Like, who knows?
They might, or they might not. Either way, the point.
Oh my god!
Either way, and DC.
Jason Patras is so mad at you right now.
Well, you know where he can complain? He can complain at rougerugby.ca.
Not me.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Find me in the street. Why not?
No. Okay.
Either way,
I want to hear the explanation for DC.
Right, DC.
And I apologize to DC fans with my reaction. It's probably not actually that bad.
Yeah.
And that's shocking.
Okay, we can look at DC last season. They went like the first half without a single win.
Yep.
And then they, sacked their head coach. They got interim coaching, different coaching style. But you could see, and I think the good way to like measure this is their performance against the Arrows. So their only home game against the Arrows, they only scored 1 try. Then you have their second game where, the Arrows were comfortably winning, and then they let their own defenses slip and, concede 2 tries right at the end, nearly lose the game. And then you have the last game of the season where DC completely stomped over Toronto and just really like ruined the home experience. But that shows like how far they've come along. They've now got what's his name, Josh Sims in as head coach.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great addition for them as well. They've got some like great guys coming up through the ranks and into this new team. I am basing a little bit off preseason. They pushed New York pretty
we
well.
have just confirmed means nothing. We spent the first
I know it means nothing, but I'm only going with what I can. I'm only going with what I've got. Okay, so I'm not being boring. I'm like, oh, these guys won last year, so they're going to be around this year. Come on, let's have a bit of fun. And
it's you gotta. I want to hear your entire ranking now, though.
No, tough. We're moving on. Okay. We're going to the top 3 teams in the West. And Dan, I'm going to come to you. Who is going to be competing with your Eastern selection to make the championship final?
Sure. So I have the West. I find is harder.
The West is
because
wild.
There's even the West is so uncertain. It's so wild. I mean, they lost 2 teams, but I've got Seattle taking the bye.
All right.
Top seed. And then I've got San Diego hosting Houston.
Okay.
In the semifinal.
Right.
I'm looking at I was looking at San Diego's roster, and they've got some damn talented players. Like I want to give them more props, but every year they find a special way to not make it as far as they can. I mean, they added, Marcel Bracchi. They added Mikey Te'au.
Yep.
Monananu's coming back.
Their pack is nasty.
It's just
their pack's like
the pack is
changed.
nasty.
Yeah.
Go off on a tangent. Do you guys think that Sears Duru, by the time that he's done his career, will be Canada's most capped player? He has 64 caps, and he'll be turning 29 this year.
I mean,
like he hasn't shown. If anything, I've seen signs of getting better. Like,
aging like fine wine.
I feel like he's maybe one of those guys that can probably play as long as he wants to. A big X factor in that might be what Rugby Canada decides to do as far as playing younger guys.
Yeah, that's
to
fair.
grow into the what's the most caps? It's Carpenter at what, 80 something?
Something like that.
Right. So
but anyways, they picked up like Christian Poitevin too.
It's
like they have really amped up their.
They got Sean McNulty, they got Sam Maholo from it's
80
they picked up
caps for
Tom. They
Canada.
picked up Tom Franklin from the Maori too. Isaac Ross is there now. Blair Cohen's got some Scotland caps is there now.
Yeah. So Sears Duru would need to play in 16 more games.
I mean, he could do it.
Tie.
He could do it. I guess it just comes down to it comes down to, I guess,
what's available,
squad selection, right? Because even at that, like we were, just talking about how Rugby Canada was saying that they don't have any games scheduled for this year yet. We were talking about that a couple episodes back, right? So, squad, and then it's like, so who are you going to play, especially over the World Cup cycle and stuff right now too, and also.
For sure.
And also, I mean, the big thing too is obviously staying healthy, which I mean, I hope he does, and he has had a healthy career up until this point.
Yeah.
That'd be super cool though. I would love to see that happen, man. He's been just a workhorse for Canada. I think
stalwart.
Yeah, and I think even too, right? Like playing in San Diego is like it's another chance for him to like start and hopefully make a run.
But sorry, and then.
Houston's good.
I picked Houston because, I mean, they've got a terrifying pack.
Yeah.
And they've got some real talented players in the back line.
They would have
Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Dallas and Chicago are just absolute wild cards. Like they're basically, you look at the turnover that Dallas has, they're almost a new team.
Yeah.
Chicago is a new team, and Utah just doesn't impress me. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, but Utah's jerseys.
Oh, another black and red jersey.
Why, you don't like Utah's jerseys, man? I love Utah's jerseys. All right.
Yeah, Derek,
you're already writing in the group document here, so I was assuming you wanted to jump the gun.
No, that's come on, give me your list.
All right.
Give me your top three.
I'm kind of torn on this one. I think I totally agree with Dan's assessment of the idea that this is really hard to call. I think despite him not necessarily being impressed by Utah, I think Utah is really good. I think they might challenge for a spot. The wild card is Chicago, as Dan just mentioned. But Chicago is also the team that is essentially made up of the two best teams in the Western Conference last year.
But they have no wingers. They don't have any wingers right now.
Yeah, I know. They have Billy Meeks.
They've got all these talented centers.
Yeah, and Billy Meeks is in LA doing something.
Yeah, and they've got one fly half. They've got Luke Carty as their one signed on fly half. If he gets hurt, they're pooched.
Well, that's what you mean. Like that's part of the wild cardness, right? I think, man, this is tough. I'm gonna go Houston, Robbie Povey. They'll finish. I think they are the one team that legitimately made the playoffs last year in the Western Conference. So I think they've made some improvements like where necessary. Like you said, Dan, their pack's insane, and then I agree with San Diego. I think San Diego's looking pretty scary, a lot improved too. So I'll put San Diego there. And then my third team, they're kind of, I want to debate between Utah and Chicago. So I think I want to lean Chicago just because, like, if they for some reason find a way to put this together, then it could be scary because their core is pretty unreal. That you might not need wingers if the centers score 5 tries a game anyway. So I think I'm gonna go with Chicago, and I'm gonna go Chicago as 3. We'll see what happens.
All right. So I'm being less outlandish with my picks in the West.
You can't possibly be more outlandish. So
okay, so I'm saying going straight to the conference final is San Diego. I'm not happy that they've cut 3 of their 5 Canadians from last season, but it is what it is. But I think, and especially their kit alone gives them a good enough standing to get that high. Hosting the Western Eliminator, I have as Chicago. I know we don't have enough information on their team at this moment, but the sheer amount of talent that is coming from, basically the 2 teams that topped the West last season they've got to definitely have some place to go. Like the head coach of Austin last year is now the head coach of Chicago. So that style of play will hopefully be continuing. A team that won 12 of their 16 games. So definitely one that I can see doing well. Maybe there'll be a few issues to sort out. And I'd say they will be hosting that eliminator against Seattle. Seattle, I think, they were fortunate to get to the championship final. Obviously, the disqualifications got them that position. And yeah, I honestly see them, putting up another fight, another challenge to make it to another championship final. And if anyone counts out the Seawolves, then you're just a fool because they've clearly got the track record that states otherwise.
Okay, now, they wouldn't have made the playoffs last year.
They wouldn't have, and yet they were there. So
yeah, well,
yeah, don't count them out because you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
All right, so now we are going to move on to who you think will be the most improved team of the year for the 2023 season compared to 2022, and just to make it interesting, you can't pick the same team as someone else. So, Derek, actually, you lead this one. Who do you think is going to be most improved? Although I think it may be a pretty obvious answer.
I think there's a couple teams that can kind of challenge for this. I guess it depends on how you define most improved. Because for some teams, you have a team like, say you have a team like NOLA, who it's like it looks like they can improve a lot, but if they don't make the playoffs, it's disappointing. But if they do make the playoffs, is that improving greatly because they're kind of on the cusp of the playoffs last year too. Old Glory, if Old Glory does what Stu is claiming Old Glory is going to do, then that's clearly them. But I think when you're thinking like most improved, I feel like you can't get worse than 0-16. So anything that Dallas does, if Dallas puts up a win, like that's just incredible. If Dallas puts up a win, if they put up 2, if they put up 3, that's incredible improvement over last year. They got a couple Canadians in DeWalt Coetzee, Liam Murray, and Kyle Steeves up front. So that would be super cool. I guarantee at least 3 wins if you just start them every game. That should be the starting front row every game. Learn from learn from everyone else, man. If you play your Canadians more, you win. It's mathematically proven in this league.
That's backed by science.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like Dallas, I feel like Dallas has to be the most improved team in the league because like
just even drawing a game.
Exactly. It's like what's
all right.
Like,
okay.
If you win a game, you're already ahead of last year. Like that's that's all you got to do. So I'm going with Dallas.
All right. Okay, Dan, who are you saying for most improved? And you cannot pick Dallas.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer. So I'm going to go with.
I
picked them to go to the.
They could stink. Again.
They could stink. But if we're talking about if someone's going to show improvement in this season, like they're the ones that.
Yeah.
The bar is so low.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say for me the most improved team will be NOLA. I mean, I've got them going to the playoffs, so I got to ride that train and say, yeah, I think that they've made some impressive signings to tackle some weaknesses. They have consistency in their lineup. I think that's where we will see the most improved team.
All right. Okay. So,
Stu,
Derek?
I think we know your answer based on your previous predictions here.
Well, this is the thing. So Dallas, they only started last year and they finished bottom. So, that's their only track record. They've yet to win. NOLA, they've been low consistently. They've yet to make the playoffs, and this will be their sixth season in MLR. One of the OGs, not including Old Glory. And they've always been around that. My team is a team that did, by all metrics, poorly in 2022 because they fell from their high of 2021. This is a team that made the playoffs, and then even with all the disqualifications, they were 10 points behind making the playoffs in 2022. And I'm looking for them to turn it around, get back to their winning ways, not essentially jumping straight into the conference final, but definitely returning to former glories. So my prediction for most improved team for 2023 is Utah.
I do like that. I think Utah's like really good. And then if they can, you know what I mean? They kind of are a team that seems to explode offensively. They got a little bit of, some players on the way out the door, but they always kind of seem to be able to replace those guys. So I mean, I don't mind that selection from you, Stu.
All right. So now we move on to player to watch. So
I love watching you guys change your answers 5 times as we keep talking during this.
So this is a player.
Shut up, Derek.
You're on your 6th
Derek
player
isn't
now,
even
Dan.
keeping a record of this, so that when he gets everything wrong, he'll just.
It's a hard, bloody question, okay?
So this is a player that's been announced by any of the MLR teams that you think is one that new fans should keep an eye out for. The old fans will be like, yeah, of course. And this can be their first season. This can be their 6th season. They could, be someone who performs from the bench, someone who's a starter. The guy that I am picking as the player to watch is actually a draftee. In fact, he was the first Canadian draftee for 2022 draft, signed by Old Glory DC, and that is Carlito Martinez. He's a front row player. He's definitely probably going to be the ones involved in all like innovative set pieces that I'm hoping DC can pull together. Obviously he's a UBC graduate as well, so one of the best student teams in all of Canada. Curry Hitchborn, one of the best coaches, one of the best guys that we've interviewed on the podcast as well. He definitely backs him. So, and it'll be in the East, so Arrows fans will be able to get to hopefully see him play twice, and when he's playing against the Arrows, so you can have like that metric to compare to. So yeah, so my pick is Carlito Martinez. Dan, who's your pick?
I think the guy I picked is someone who needs to have a good year, and I think more importantly, stay healthy. Nakai Penny from Seattle. He is an incredible player. He is someone that has been on the cusp of national team selection and boom, gets injured or something else happens. Like, he is such a talented athlete in the breakdown, in the loose. It's just a matter of time. I think he's going to have a really strong year as long as he stays healthy, and we'll see him in a red jersey.
Yeah, I like both those picks. Penny Penny's always been a really good player for Seattle, and I mean, we talked about how deep the Canada is at that position.
Yeah.
Cali Martinez. I mean, if DC is going to make the playoffs, he's probably going to be a big reason why. And I mean, he's already started. I think he started both the preseason games based on the lineups that DC.
All right, Derek, stop delaying. Who's your player to watch for 2023?
I mean, I'm picking the guy that we've spent the last 3 episodes talking about. So, I mean, if Mike Shepard calls it, Corey Thomas calls it, and I mean, if Dan's calling it too, I'm going with Mason Flesh. It could be, another guy that maybe had some injury issues last year, but could be a opportunity for the door to open wide and have a big breakout season. So got to go. Obviously, I love that all 3 of us picked Canadians. That's the way it should be, and looking forward to seeing what Flesh is capable of this year.
All right. Okay, and we got one last prediction for MLR 2023, and this is just the outlandish prediction. This is something that we may not see, but it'd be interesting. It'd be definitely funny, I think, if we did. So I'm going to start this off. I know that Dallas went 0-16 in 2022, and I know that Austin went 0-16 in 2019. But Austin's record actually was a run of 0-20 that stretched from 2018 to 2020. So my outlandish prediction is that Austin will have the longest losing record in MLR history, because the Jackals are going to, and I want to be specific here, not lose at least one of their first 4 games of the season.
That's probably fair. Who do they play in their first 4 games of the season? Who are their first?
I'm glad you asked, because that's where this becomes really fun. So the Jackal schedule is that they will open this weekend against the Houston SaberCats, which was, to be fair, the game they came closest to getting a win last season. Then they face the Utah Warriors, then Seattle, and then on March 11th, they will face the Legion. So within that time frame, I can see them getting at least a draw from one of those teams, and for their benefit, ideally a win. But that is my prediction.
All right.
That the Dallas Jackals will not lose one of their first 4 games.
I guess I'll go.
Yep.
Yeah,
you go ahead.
You go next. Okay. So I think I want to make, I don't even know if this is going to be an outlandish prediction, but it'd be a thing that I'd be like, it'd be cool as hell if it did happen. I think if you look around the league right now, there's a lot of really talented Canadian players. And there's a lot of players on that are captains of teams. There's a lot of players that start at key positions on their respective teams. And because of that, I think that Canadians will kind of find themselves at the top of a couple of stat categories this year. So my outlandish prediction, one is that a Canadian will lead the league in tackles, which feels a lot more achievable than what I'm also about to say. Because I mean, the Free Jacks are the Free Jacks are the team that were just a tackling machine last year. And their entire pack is basically Canadian now. And so that's going to be a lot of that. But I'm also going to say that a Canadian might lead the league in tries this year too. And if you go, in tries, if you look around the league, there's a lot of Canadian players that find themselves in some try scoring positions around the league. Coe did a lot of damage for New York in the playoffs, and 2 of the New York's big wingers that were there last year are now gone. So if New York uses him, then Coe could be up there. Doug Frazier, especially if Old Glory is going to make the playoffs, Doug Frazier is going to be scoring some tries. And also they have Graydon Bowd in DC too, who's going to be working right off of Danny Tusitala. Avery Oidemann's back. He almost led a team in try scoring in his first year as a 19-year-old too. Not to mention all the hookers in this league that are Canadian as well, and those tend to be the guys that actually score a lot of tries. So that will be my outlandish. The wild possibly won't come true, but it'd be super cool if it did. Prediction.
All right, and Dan, do you have any outlandish prediction for MLR 2023?
Oh, I flip-flopped on this one a ton, but I think what I've come down to is I think the Toronto Arrows will be the highest scoring team in MLR.
Because Avery Oidemann's going to lead the league in tries.
Because Avery Oidemann is
there we
the
go.
league in tries.
We're on the same page. Or anybody else on the Arrows. I just used Oidemann in the last. Cole Davis scored a lot of tries. Let's go with him.
Yeah, hopefully a full year of Ross Brody and Sam Malcolm.
Yeah.
You got a lot of really talented new centers. Cole Davis eating up tries. Avery Oidemann, Fabian Goodall, Kieran Breen in the backfield, and then Jack McRogers with all of those just juicy line-out yum-yums that he sucked up last year. He's going to score a bunch more. I think that they're going to have more time, more runway with this lineup compared to last year because of this horrendous injury start to the season. I have a feeling that they're going to be offensive dynamos this year.
All right.
I don't hate that prediction because it helps my prediction. So,
all right. So there we
pigging back off of you.
Yeah. So there we have it. Our predictions for the season. But as we said, this is also the first round of MLR 2023. And as we have done for the past few seasons, we are giving our predictions for each and individual game. Guys, I am just going to say the matchup, and you are just going to tell me the team that wins. So first up, we have Atlanta versus Toronto. Derek, who are you picking?
Toronto.
Dan, who are you picking?
Toronto.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. Toronto.
Snitch.
All three. Okay. Next up, we have NOLA versus New England. Dan, who you got?
NOLA.
Okay. Derek, who are you choosing?
New England.
And I am going with New England just on the grounds of they have more Canadians. Okay, we have DC versus Chicago. The first game for the Hounds in MLR 2023, or even MLR as a whole. I am going to go with DC. Derek, who you got?
Chicago.
Very certain with your pick. Dan, who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Chicago. It's a hard one. That's the hardest one of the week to me.
All right. Up next, we have San Diego versus Utah at Snapdragon Stadium. Derek, who you got?
San Diego. You can't open Snapdragon with a loss. So San Diego.
Dan, do you agree?
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, San Diego.
I think this is another one we're all in agreement with. San Diego across the board there. Okay, Seattle versus New York. The redemption match maybe for Seattle for the 2022 championship final. I don't think so. I'm going to go with New York. Derek.
New York.
Yeah, New York. I think Seattle will have a good year, but
right. And then we have the Texan clash between Dallas and Houston. Dan, who do you have?
Oh boy, I actually have a bunch of Dallas merch, but I think new lineup is going to take a little bit of time. Houston.
Right. Derek, who you got?
Dallas does have nice merch, but yeah, Houston's probably going to win this. Oh.
Okay. And because of my outlandish prediction, I therefore will not be boring and I will pick Dallas. Okay, so those are.
But it's being pragmatic. I'm not being boring. Jeez.
No, being boring is us picking the same team 3 in a row. because we all pick San Diego, we all pick New York. I'm not going to be boring. I'm going to separate it from being, instead of Houston.
Fine.
Houston,
You know
Houston,
what, Stu? You know what, Stu? Put me down for Seattle.
All right, you got it.
Put me down for Seattle.
All right,
Why not?
There you go. So,
Ronan Foley runs in for 100 meters and 2 tries. And
well, all will be revealed as the 2023 season of Major League Rugby kicks off this Friday, beginning with the Fire and Ice Cup between Atlanta and Toronto, and we have a full complement of 6 games. If you're looking to watch any of these games, especially Arrows fans, you can watch the games on TSN, tsn.ca, or TSN Plus. If you're looking to watch any MLR games, whether you can see them live or on repeat, they will be on the Rugby Network. And because we have a break in the Six Nations, the Premiership and URC return, and they will be available on Sportsnet. And
my lads need a break. They need a rest. Being number 1 is hard work.
Yeah, it's lonely at the top.
I'll still say that Canada has the same number of quarterfinal
wins as Derek, don't rain on my parade right now. I'm too happy.
That's all right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, normally I would list all the places where you can find it, but now we've consolidated into one. You can find us at our brand new website, therougerugby.ca. We're also available across social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Rouge Rugby as well. Derek, where can the fine people find you on social media?
At Brissette the Jet across all social media networks.
Dan, where can the fine people find your takes on and be aware of upcoming articles for the website?
I believe my Twitter handle is Damurf2. Dab_Murph2.
You sound very confident in the recollection of your own Instagram.
I'm rusty, okay? It's been a year and change.
And whose fault is that?
When you're a family man, Derek,
too much Dungeons and Dragons. No, it's the Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
See, I would have asked you guys to record another night, but we weren't playing tonight. Normally we do so.
All right, fair enough. And you can find me across social media at Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. Well, lads, once again, we're at the start of a brand new Major League Rugby season. Looking forward to not only all those games, but seeing some of our predictions come to light. Dan, always great to have you on the pod. We're glad to welcome you back at any time. Derek, thanks for joining me once again. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast, where we talk about real Canadian rugby. We hope you can join us again next time.